Once upon a time there was a magical land. This land was quite different to ours. The air was filled with the smell of magic, which is a bit like old shoes, but the people who lived there didn't mind at all. In fact, the people didn't mind about many things, like learning to read or spelling, or even basic personal hygiene. This magical land was called Kent. One of Kent's magical people was very special. He was a tooth. He was also special in that, unlike most teeth, he lived alone. This made him feel quite lonely and unlucky. Timmy was special in another way too. He lived somewhere very special. Can you guess where? That's right, in the mouth of a beautiful princess. This princess was known as Grissy. Her magical tooth made her the prettiest girl in Kent and the boys wanted to marry her. However, there was only one boy in the whole kingdom who was clever and handsome enough. We shall meet him later. Grissy's mother was the Queen of Kent. She also had a magical tooth which made her a beloved queen. The people of Kent also loved her first king, Reuben. Sadly, he had to stop being king when he could not get Hansel and Gretel fully tattooed onto his knuckles. Since then, the queen had found a new king. The step king was an ogre called Grayish Green. Unlike most ogres, no one knew if he was nasty because he mumbled everything he said and normally fell asleep before finishing a sentence. Today was Grissy's wedding day and the queen was very worried that the bad luck that had surrounded the kingdom would ruin the special day. "I'm so worried that today won't go well," said the queen. "You know how unlucky this land is these days. We can't do anything to cause any more bad luck. Has the groom seen the bride?" "I don't think so," said the jester, "or the wedding would have been called off long ago." Grayish Green tried to comfort his wife. "Don't worry dear, I've got the Royal Air Force of elves who are due to parachute down during the ceremony and make sure nothing goes wrong." "Are you sure they can protect the royal wedding?" asked the worried queen. "Well," said the jester, "they're experts in elf defense." "You're not helping," cried the queen. "Calm down, dear," Grayish Green said. "I promise that the entire kingdom will benefit from their help and expertise today." "Yes, today's wedding will be possible thanks to elf air benefit checks," said the jester, backing out of the door. The queen was not about to let anything go wrong today. "The elves aren't enough," she declared. "I've already made a call to the luck fairy." And with that, the luck fairy flew through the window. "I want you to sprinkle luck dust all over everything today and make sure everything goes as planned," said the queen. "I've got some extra special dust for you, your majesty," said the luck fairy. "Is it good?" asked the queen. "I should say," replied the fairy. "I can't stop taking it myself at the moment and I'm always getting lucky." "I read something similar to that effect on the bathroom wall," said the jester faintly from another room. Everyone in the land had gathered to watch the wedding. From the lowliest peasants to the upper echelons of royalty had made their way to the church. Also, a Viking was there. Even Timmy the Tooth was wearing his special outfit made of plaque and bits of old crisps. "Thank you all for coming," said the priest. "Marriage is a sacred and joyous event. Could I please ask the bride to remove the top tier of the cake from her mouth and answer the following question? Will you, Princess Grissy Landfill Golightly, take this man to be your lawfully wedded idiot?" Quote, "I will," said the princess, wiping a tear from her eye and icing from her mouth. "And will you," continued the priest, "Prince Scanty Brainshells, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "Sorry, what was the question?" asked the prince. "Do you want to marry her?" said the priest. "Who?" asked the prince. "Her," shouted the priest. "Yes," confirmed the prince. "Well then say, 'I will,'" demanded the priest. "You will?" questioned the prince. "No, I will," screamed the priest. "Why are you trying to marry her?" said the prince, angrily. "Believe me, I'm not. Please just say, 'I will,'" pleaded the priest. "No you won't. I'm not going to give you permission to marry my darling princess," said the prince, nearly in tears. To help the prince say, "I will," the priest then held up two cards, one with an eye and one with a wheel. "Right," said the priest, "when I point to her, you just read out these cards." "Go," shouted the priest, pointing to the princess. See," said the prince, looking at the first card, round, as he saw the second before finally adding her while looking at the princess. "See round her," repeated the prince, somewhat befuddled. "You're the only one who can see round her," said the jester. "Is it still daytime on that side?" "Okay," said the priest, reaching for his hip flask. "If you want to marry this woman, then don't say anything intelligent for the next 5 seconds." "I think someone put my shoes on the wrong feet," said the prince, sadly. "Good enough for me," said the priest. "I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride." "I've been looking forward to this," said the prince. Timmy the Tooth began to cry from inside the princess's mouth. "Last one to the bar is a bender," said the jester, pushing the priest aside and already breaking into a sprint. And with that, the after-wedding party had begun. Although the wedding was over, there was one more thing that the princess had to do before truly becoming the prince's wife. In Kent, the brides have to drink a pint of chocolate from the sacred chocolate fountain. This is to show that she will do anything for her new husband, even risk a dangerous intake of calories. Grissy then had a second pint of it because she was thirsty. The ceremony had finished, but there was still a lot of bad luck in the kingdom. The queen was worried that something bad would happen at the party. After all of the villagers were already dancing like total joeys. The queen sent the luck fairy on a mission to fix this problem once and for all. The luck fairy took one more big sniff of luck dust. As her eyes bulged open, she realized where all the bad luck in the land was coming from. The sister of the beautiful princess had a dress specially made for the occasion. Unfortunately, this dress had been made out of all of the parachutes belonging to the Elf Air Force. Coincidentally, the Air Force also only just found this out as they jumped out of the plane directly above the wedding. Which, I'm sure you'll agree, is pretty fucking unlucky. With no time to spare, the luck fairy cast a magic spell. Zambuckus Puckus, shouted the fairy and covered the dress in a magical luck potion that she had made inside her. And there were some carrots mixed in there too. The bad luck dress was destroyed and the pieces flew up into the air. Funnily, they passed the unlucky elf force as they plummeted to the ground. The jester saw the princess's sister lying there in her underwear, flopping around on the floor covered in the oily mess. That reminds me, he said, I must join Greenpeace. With the dress now gone, the land was filled with good luck again. The people of Kent gave a mighty cheer and then went back to being illiterate and not washing. With the parachutes gone, the few surviving members of the Elf Air Force gave up the jobs and decided to spend the time helping people who are sick and poorly. The newly formed National Elf Service fixed Grissy's mouth with lots of new teeth that they found lying around the kingdom. Timmy the Tooth was never alone again and he lived happily ever after.